weather. As you saw, our meteorologist, Mike Favetta. Thank goodness for Mike. Mike, I owe you dinner for getting us going this morning. I owe you more than that, actually. And we want to take your calls because we want this to be a New Jersey only news channel. This is supposed to cover all of our news from the very, very top, Rockland County, all the way down the shore to South Jersey, Vineland, over to the Philadelphia outskirts. This is New Jersey's morning show, and that is the whole goal of this, to be exactly that. So we have a lot to talk about this morning. Again, for those who may have missed our forecast with Mike Vivetta, it's going to be a chilly morning, a little chillier than yesterday. Not so much, though. Mike said we're going to have mostly sunny skies throughout much of the state, highs in the upper 30s. And right now we have 24 degrees at 7:08. Mike, let's bring you back up if you're there. Good to have you. So now I've said it on the air. I owe you at least a dinner. So you and the whole family are going out because you saved us on day one of the all new morning show.
It usually is the crutch of whenever a gremlin strikes, as you said, just go to weather. He'll talk. He'll tell you what's going on.
You are the lifesaver, man. Thank you very much.
It's the vamp. Hey, but there is some weather to talk about. So it's not just clear sunny skies for the rest of the week. There could be some more snow coming into New Jersey later this week. And I think, Ken, it's something that maybe some are listen, if you're in the house of we want to see more snow, it is wintertime. Some people have been disappointed this winter because we only had one really somewhat minor event, but there will be some more, I think, down the road, especially as we head into Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. And I'll show you that with the Futurecast. It's chilly right now statewide. This is weather you typically expect to find as we head into the last week of January. Wind chills holding in the teens and 20s statewide. Not the warmest start, but also not the windiest. The winds have come down a little bit, and it's slightly milder by 4 degrees compared to this time yesterday in some parts of northern New Jersey, but it's where the pine barrens really cool down. It's that sandy soil there from Monmouth and Ocean County down to Atlantic and Burlington counties where, thanks to the clear sky overnight, you get all of that heat releasing back out into the atmosphere. And so it makes it much, much colder. You might find some frosty spots there this morning. As those clouds moved away last night, thanks to a system well off to our south, so the places in the southeastern U.S. that got slammed with half a foot of snow, like in northern Florida, down through portions of Louisiana and the Panhandle, now they're getting rain. So it's only adding to that mess there across the southeast U.S. Here, we'll continue to see the thaw across northern New Jersey as highs today climb into the upper 30s. But by the time we get to later on tomorrow and especially into Wednesday, that's when I think we'll see another round of snow come in. Light flurries. Think of those squalls, Ken. As you head outside, you see a quick burst of flurries. It looks like a blizzard for 5 minutes and then it moves away. That's essentially what's going to happen as we head into not just tonight, but as well as tomorrow, and they get on Wednesday with those bursts of flurries. So I'll show you that with the Futurecast. Zoom it right down into New Jersey. That's coming up with your full weather update.
Well, there you go. And one of the nice things, I used to dread snow when I would have to get in my car and drive into Manhattan, but I'm not going to rub it in much, but I'm in the house, so it's not so bad talking about it from this perspective. And the background will, of course, change later in the week. But Mike Favetta, it is so great to have a great meteorologist like you on board and doing the forecast as New Jersey.
Great to be here. I'll think about the dinner menu for when I come over.
Hey, start with filet mignon and work your way up, pal. That's the way to go. Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate you so much. All right, a lot to talk about this morning. As we mentioned, we'll check back in with Mike in just a little bit. The Eagles beat the Bills, if you missed it, over the weekend. I know if those of you are probably south of the Princeton line, Princeton, or Trenton, as we would say, Princeton line, you're probably very excited about what happened yesterday. Those of you who are Giants fans, like my dad is a Giants fan his whole life. I said to him yesterday, I was with him, he's 94. I said, Dad, you want me to put on the Eagles game? And he goes, I'm not interested. He had no interest. And this is a guy who's a rabid football fan. He didn't even want to look. But you know what I'm talking about. I kind of like football, but not like many of our Eagles fans who are out there right now. So the Eagles beat the Bills 32-29. Philly going to Super Bowl 59. And of course, they're going to be going against the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a rematch, if you will, from 2 years ago when the Chiefs squeaked by beating the Eagles. The Eagles hoping to one-up them this time. So that's going to be happening in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And Remember that the last score was 38-35. So we'll see what happens if the Eagles could bring back the Lombardi Trophy. Or Mike Black is going to be along in the next hour. He's going to talk about the big game, some highlights, and talk about what we have to look forward to in the big Super Bowl. A lot happened in the world of Trump over the weekend. The president banned biological men from women's prisons. So, what's your opinion about this? We want you to express your opinion. Get angry if you want to get angry. I have right in front of me. I'm actually they made the mistake of giving me the control. So I actually can take your calls, press the button and take your calls. So we want to hear from you. And again, for those who are just tuning in, it's 1-888-658-0234, 1-888-658-0234. We're going to take your calls. There you go. You see it right there. We want to take your calls and have you express your opinion. Eventually, by the way, what we're going to work on is have you give us video calls, but that's coming. Did I let that out of the bag too soon? That's coming. But for now, give us a phone call because in the morning your hair might look like mine did an hour ago, and you don't want to be seen on camera. But again, the president banning biological men from women's prisons, those people who are very for the LGBTQ rights. And by the way, not everybody who is gay is for LGBTQ in terms of transgender. They're two different things. I have many, many friends who are gay. And the transgender issue is a very touchy issue. But we here on New Jersey Mornings, we intend on hitting the touchy issues. That's the whole point of this. How do you feel about it? I would bet if many of you have friends who are transgender or LGBTQ community, you'd probably say, Ken, what's the big deal? What's this about? Well, remember what's been happening. You have, in many cases, you have men who have been in men's prisons who suddenly are afraid that they are going to get attacked, and they feel they have a better shot in women's prisons. So suddenly they decide that they want to be a woman or that they are a woman. In many cases, it might be the real deal, but in many cases, it might be their way of getting out of the male prison. And so they tell the authorities at the prison that they are a woman. And under the previous administration, the prisons would listen and put these biological men in women's prisons. Now, think about what that does to the women in the women's prisons. You're now showering next to a man with male parts, and you have a man who's much stronger. And in case of a fight, that man could cause a lot of damage. So this is one of the issues in the world of Trump. They said, no. Here's the reality. Here's the reality. You may feel like you're a woman, and that's fine. You may absolutely identify as a woman, and that's fine. But physically, you are still a man. Mentally, you may be a woman, but physically, you are a man. If you are naked in the showers, sorry to talk about this at 7:00 in the morning, but if you are naked in the showers, the other men will think of you as a man, not as a woman. And physically, if you are assaulted, you can defend yourself as a man because you are physically a man, even though you think of yourself as a woman. Because what other purpose, if you identify as a woman, what other purpose is there of having to be in a woman's prison? What is it because you're afraid a woman might, a man in the male prison might see your top while you're changing? No, you're physically a man yet. So I can understand why the Trump administration has now ruled that out. If you are physically a man, biologically a man, born of what they call a cis man, that's born as physically a man, no matter what you think you are now, you must be in a male prison if you are convicted. Otherwise, use that as an aversion to prisons and try to do everything not to go to prison. How about that? That way you don't have to worry one way or the other. Over the weekend, or on Friday, for those who missed it, there was a big raid on a store in Newark, and a number of people were rounded up. This is all part of ICE's new move. The president promised this would happen. He did not say it might happen. He promised it would happen. Let me just cut and tell you, it's 7:16 right now, 23 degrees. Mike Favetta, our meteorologist, telling us sunshine today and highs about 39 degrees. Again, 23 at 7:16 in the morning on your Monday. So the president had told us over and over again we were going to have ICE raids. He said, if you were here illegally, you're going to have to leave. And then what Tom Homan, the czar of the ICE folks, what Tom Homan said last week was that if you self-deport, leave now, okay, you could take your time, gather your stuff, not have any legal issues, go back to whatever home country you came from. And from that home country, we won't even know that you were here. From that home country, file the paperwork, and you could But if we didn't know that you were here and we don't know that you violated any laws, you can then apply to become a legal resident and or an American citizen down the line. Okay, sounds like a good deal to me. If, however, you decide to take your chances and stay, especially if you have a criminal record in the United States, you will be rounded up. And if you are rounded up and kicked out, it will either be 10 years or life that you will not be allowed back in the United States. I heard both. And I'm sure if it were President Trump's decision right out, he would say, you can never come back. So if you know somebody who is not here legally, have a heart to heart and say, look, get your stuff today, go home, even if they haven't committed a crime. Tell them, go back to wherever you're from. Go back to Lithuania, go back to Italy, go back to wherever you're from. Go back to Canada. And, you said Canada. I had a friend who was a professor from Canada who, during the pandemic, he was a legal resident in the United States, filed his paperwork. And because of the pandemic, the paperwork arrived one day late. He almost got deported. And this is a professor at a university who never lived off of our system at all here. He produced his own wealth and paid taxes, and yet they were about to deport him. Meanwhile, people who snuck across the border and committed crimes were living free in the United States. That's the ridiculousness, if you will, of this. So tell your friends who may be illegal, tell your friends, go back and apply, and you could come and become a productive citizen in the United States. It's not about not wanting people of specific ethnic cultures to be part of the United States. Everybody's welcome. We all came from different places, right? My family came from Italy, I have family in Argentina and Brazil. They all came the legal way. In fact, I have relatives who waited more than a decade to come in legally. That's the way it's done, all right? But if you are here illegally and you get caught, you will be sent back, and then you may not have I'm looking at the call lines right now to see if we have some. Yeah, we got a couple there. So if you want to give us a call again, it's 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Weigh in and let us know what you feel about that. So Ross Baraka got all upset. Mayor Baraka, I have mixed feelings about Mayor Baraka. You probably do too. He has a tough job. Newark is a tough city, no matter who the mayor is. Ross Baraka has had his own issues in the past. There have been investigations, of course, about fundraising and et cetera when he was running for mayor. Nonetheless, he is the mayor of Newark. And if any local police in the city of Newark were to conduct a raid for drugs or whatever, Ross Baraka would have never called a press conference. However, something is happening right now for Ross Baraka. He is one of 5 Democrats vying for the gubernatorial position in the state of New Jersey. A birth connection to Europe, to the European Union. Good luck. It may take you 10 to 20 years. But in the United States, somehow we think that our door should be open to the world. Why? Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that. Why should you and I work our butts off, pay taxes, only to have somebody else come in and reap the rewards of all the efforts that we made. So, Ross, if you had not called Newark a sanctuary city, and Murphy, if you had not called New Jersey a sanctuary state, then you would not be hosting 500,000 illegal migrants in this state right now. And ICE would not be conducting raids. So if there's anyone to blame for these raids, it is you. You know the federal law says you can't be here if you got in illegally. That's always been the case. It's not a new law. So what on earth are you thinking? Why on earth would you allow this to happen and and then get upset when there's a raid conducted, even if U.S. citizens get arrested in the process? This happens. If you're in a bank and there's a bank robbery, cops come in and arrest everybody and then figure it out later. So anyway, we'll talk more about that. David Wildstein's going to join us in just a little bit. In the meantime, it's 7:23, 24 degrees. Ooh, it's a balmy 24. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta. Some snow in the forecast for ONNJ Jersey. Tell us all about it.
Could be some flurries later on tonight and again tomorrow. We'll show you that future cast, but it's something that I don't think accumulates. Maybe just a little dusting on the car tops. You wake up in the morning, have to brush it off, and then you get on with your day. Doesn't look like we need the shovels this time around, at least until the weekend. And we'll talk more about that coming up in just a bit. Clear sky right now. The clouds from last night moving on out. So we zoom on into central New Jersey, where the temperature this afternoon will warm to a balmy 41 degrees. We'll take every degree in Point Pleasant. How about you in Toms River? 41 there, and back over toward Fort Dix, Mount Holly, Princeton, and Trenton, just climbing to that 40-degree mark. Once we get into this afternoon, it will still be a few degrees shy of our average high, which is 45 degrees. But, with the highs today far from the record of 74, it kind of makes you think like, oh, wish we could kind of fast forward there into spring and bring back some of that milder weather for some, because if it's going to snow, just snow already. I feel like these teases have been coming at us every few days. Now, the air has been kind of stagnant, and without much of big change in air, that brings the air quality level down. So we're at the moderate level, which, is okay. Anytime that number is below 100, it's pretty good. Once we get above 100, we tend to see a little bit more problems with respiratory issues, those sensitive with breathing problems and asthma. And a lot of that right now is currently in southern New Jersey, the northern half of the state, nice and clear with the air quality below that 50-degree number. Speaking of wind moving around, I think we'll get another gusty breeze later on tonight, and you'll feel that tomorrow morning, especially with the wind gusts early on. 7 a.m. tomorrow, 25 mile per hour wind gusts in Long Branch, 23 mile per hour wind gusts in Newark, and almost near 30 miles per hour on LBI. That's going to feel cold with the actual air temperature down in the 20s again. So we'll probably feel some teens with those wind chills this time tomorrow. And then while it's a little bit cooler by Wednesday, notice the wind direction pushing in from the south and west. That's going to try and push in some milder weather midweek. It's going to obviously be combated by a little bit of a northerly wind before that, which tends to bring in some more of that snow with some light flurries, I think, later on tomorrow into Wednesday morning. So with the forecast wind chill, there it is, 22 degrees in Long Branch, 21 in Toms River. We'll feel like 11 this time tomorrow in Morristown. Plenty of cold air in place. And then as we head into the afternoon, trying to push in some of that milder weather, but with the winds relaxing by the end of the day, it won't feel as harsh. Then we get another round of gusty breezes along the shore points from Atlantic City and down toward Cape May. We'll feel back down to the 20s. Okay, here's the future cast. Here's what you've been waiting for. With this afternoon, I think feeling nice and dry. We're sunny, we're clear. It's actually a pretty decent day to take that afternoon stroll. Then look what happens overnight. We see a few of these spotty areas of blue pop up on the radar map, and this is these squalls, if you will. So they'll come down, give us a quick burst of flurries, maybe put a coating on the car tops, an icy, crusty dusting, and then moves on through. That will likely exit by tomorrow morning, by the morning rush, and then most of the day tomorrow, just passing clouds with maybe another burst of flurries again up in northern New Jersey. There you go through 9 a.m. tomorrow, another quick burst north of Route 80, working its way through 287 and out through the northeastern section of the state, and then again tomorrow night. So that precedes a cold front, which pushes in some much colder air by Thursday, and that, I think, will set the stage for the potential for a little bit more snow. That will happen by this weekend. Look at the long-range futurecast going later into Friday and Saturday. You see a lot of blue, a little bit of pink, and some green on this map for Saturday morning. I think the start of the weekend will have some sort of icy mix. It's still a little too far to give the specifics of what will happen, but there's a lot of cold air in place, and there's certainly plenty of moisture that will take us into Saturday afternoon. So it's something to watch going into the weekend, because while the nuisance flurries that will be around during the work week are not so much a big deal, it's the weekend that may pose some issues, especially as we head into the later part of the weekend. So speaking of, weekend forecast looks a little bit messy for Saturday with that mix of rain and snow and ice. I think on Saturday there might be some lingering showers on Sunday, and because the temperature drops off a little bit, there could also be some freezing rain in there. So Ken, it's a forecast to watch specifically for the weekend going into the first weekend in February, starting off on Saturday. So yeah, it's something that we'll keep an eye on for the rest of
You
this
know what
week.
I just realized here? I'm just thinking this is dangerous. I guess they didn't give this thought. We have two Italians
It's
talking. This is in Jersey. This is potentially dangerous. This could go. This
it's
morning show could go on until 4 p.m.
this is what you do with a little espresso on the side, maybe a cafe corretto with the grappa. This just goes on and on and on. This is what we do.
My friend, I got my Pomeranian mug because I'm a Pomeranian lover. So as the morning progresses, you'll notice my speech pattern gets faster and faster as I get into my third quart of coffee. So, but excellent. Mike Pavetta, meteorologist extraordinaire. Thank you so much. Doing such a great job as always. We appreciate you. We'll check back in just a little bit. All right. Thank you. Let us go now to David Wildstein, the American businessman, the former mayor of Livingston, Republican strategist, and he's with the Globe. And we're going to be doing, I understand, some debates together coming up just a little bit too. I know between you guys and us here at On New Jersey. I don't know if you heard me on my little polite rant a little while ago, David, and being a man from politics and now a man as a journalist. Tell us what your feeling is about. I mean, if you had a raid in Livingston when you were mayor, after the president has warned you for 8 years that if you're illegal and you've committed a crime, we're coming after you. Why is Ross Baraka so shocked that happened?
Well, it's important to point out that when I was mayor, it was 40 years ago, and I was in my early 20s. So if we had a raid in Livingston, I'd have walked across the street, literally across the street, and rang Governor Tom Kane's doorbell and said, "Governor, what do I do? I don't have no clue what to do here." So it's probably not that fair to be asked that, what I would have done, because what I've learned after 40 years is how incredibly unprepared for office, with the tremendous life experience of a 23-year-old. I thought in those days I knew everything. So I probably wouldn't have walked across the street. I probably would have handled it myself. But Roz is running for governor, and he's running in a Democratic primary. And this is a good issue for him to be on in a Democratic primary. How it plays in a general, it's still too early to tell. But politically, he's doing exactly what he should do in order to win Democratic primary votes.
Which is why I'm trying to alert everybody that between now and November, we thought silly season ended this past November, but that was only the beginning of the next silly season, because in the state of New Jersey, when it comes down to it, it's all about the gubernatorial race when the gubernatorial race comes around, right?
Right. I mean, that's, it's an old joke, but you know what they call a presidential election in New Jersey? It's the opening act to the governor's race. Most constitutionally powerful governorship in the nation, and it is the whole ball game for both parties, whether they win the governorship or not.
Yeah, and it's the most powerful position of governor in the United States. Yet when we see some drones, nothing gets done, and there are no news conferences held. It's amazing how that happens. This time around, do you think with the momentum from President Trump and the recent poll that showed that President Trump has a 2-point advantage over Murphy, if the two are technically to run for governor right now against each other, do you think that New Jersey could shift from blue to purple to red in this gubernatorial race?
Yeah, absolutely, positively, yes. This is This is an odd state as it looks at elections, and I always nerd out with Laura with some of the geeky politics stuff, but the reality is New Jersey hasn't elected a Democrat to the U.S. Senate since 1972. Hasn't been blue in the presidential column since 1988. Yet over the last 14 governor's races, Democrats have won 7 and Republicans have won 7. New Jersey may lean Democratic in federal elections, but they like having Republican governors. And you've now had 8 years of Phil Murphy, and it's been since 1961 since New Jersey in 1961, obviously an entire world ago for the state, but it's been since 61 since the same party has won the governorship 3 times in a row. So I think it's way too early to call, but Republicans are absolutely positively in the mix in this year's governor's race.
And David, it's funny because New Jersey, like New York, is a very moderate Republican state. You don't have ultra conservatives here. And you also don't tend to have ultra liberals. I mean, you look at a Mikey Sherrill, who, I mean, though she votes Democrat down the line when it comes down to it, but when you hear her speak and when you look at her bio, she could be a Republican based on her background. If I saw her bio and didn't know that she had a D next to her name, I'd say, wow, that's a good conservative woman. And then you look at someone like a Christy Todd Whitman back in the day, and she would be considered a very moderate Republican. So it's a sort of middle of the road state.
It is. And I mean, I don't know if I agree that Mikey Sherrill is a moderate when you look at the totality of national issues and social issues, but she is she is more of a centrist within her caucus. Josh Gottheimer, very much a centrist. I mean, I'm getting old now, so I'm learning that I can't just describe people the way I used to of liberals and moderates and conservatives, because what you really have now is you have your center and you have your right of center, and then you have your you sort of have a right of right before you start going to all of the extremes. Same thing on the Democratic side. Takes an awful lot to go from being a Gottheimer, centrist Democrat to where AOC is. There's a lot of territory in between. And I think one of the things the last election showed is that New Jersey, has been and is a centrist state and tends to pick people from the middle. You saw Andy Kim over the weekend. He broke from his party. This is somebody I would describe as a liberal Democratic U.S. senator, but he broke from his party to vote in favor of the Hegseth nominee, not Hegseth, but Kristi Noem for Secretary of Homeland Security. So you've got a little bit of everything going on, and that's why these elections, it's good and it's bad for all of us that they start so early. But it's good in the sense that voters can get to learn who these candidates are, because you can't really put people in these cookie cutter molds anymore.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Kim support Kristi Noem. Then again, Kristi Noem is rather innocuous. It's hard to hate her. You may not think she's the most qualified until you hear her talk. And she's when you see the goofy commercials that she did when she was governor, you think, okay, this woman is she's pretty shallow. Then when you hear her speak and you hear her in interviews, it's very impressive. That's why I was really surprised at the series of goofy commercials that they did to try to attract business to South Dakota, because I guess they wanted to catch people's attention. They thought that was a folksy upper Midwestern way to do it, but I just thought it was diminishing. It really diminished from her ability. I mean, she's a multimillionaire. She's a businesswoman, very savvy in the world of energy, et cetera. And the fact that she's now in one of the most powerful positions in the United States as Director of Homeland Security, that is a significant thing. So for Kim to have supported her, I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, and remember Kim comes out of the national security world. He was on the national security staff in the Obama White House. This was the guy when if you remember watching the old West Wings when the president walked into the Situation Room, you had all those people along the table, and they were the extras. You didn't know who they were, but all of them, you have to be pretty serious to be in that room. Andy Kim used to be in that room, so he understands that national security space. And I think one of the things you're going to see with Kim is he's going to confound expectations because he just comes to his own decisions. And I don't think he really cares if this is what the Democrats want. I think he's going to vote his conscience. There's going to be a lot of these surprise votes from him.
And now that you don't have a Chuck Schumer in command of the Senate, kind of putting him, because you see that, I mean, you knew that Chuck Schumer was the senator from New York. The female senator, whose name I won't even mention, practically could be unmentioned. If you ask 99 out of 100 New Yorkers who the female senator, the junior senator from New York is, I guarantee they wouldn't even know her name. All the years I anchored in New York City, the co-anchors that I worked with didn't even pronounce her name correctly. They called her Kirsten instead. I was like, hello, really? I mean, so that's how little we even realized she existed. Why? Because she literally was just the rubber stamp of Chuck. Whatever Chuck said, and I've had many a private conversation with Mr. Schumer. We could have David, you and I will go out for coffee. I'm sure you've met him many times, and we'll have those conversations. I could share things with you that you'd say, what? And members of the media in New York know all about it, but they never talk about it because he is, fits a certain narrative, and that's that, and they're happy with that. But that's why now that Chuck Schumer is not the big thumper boss in the Senate, I mean, he still has tons of power, but he's not what he was. I think, and Andy Kim can be, he's more free to be himself. He's an awfully nice guy, super smart guy. And like you said, independent when it comes to the world of Democrats, which is hard to find these days. So New Jersey's pretty well represented right now that way. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few years. Also, depending on what happens in terms of the number of Republicans in the Senate in the next 2 to 4 years, and how that may shift things. What do you think will happen? Do you see when is Cory Booker's term up?
Cory Booker's up in 2026, and I would say he's unbeatable. His numbers are really good, and it's interesting about where New Jersey has come just over the last year or so. If there was a quantitative way of measuring simply the niceness and the decency of U.S. senators, with Bob Menendez gone, replaced by Andy Kim, what you have at the very least, you're never going to see Cory Booker and Andy Kim having gold bars pulled out of their closets by the FBI. So people may not always agree with Booker, or they're not always going to agree with Kim, but Jersey has now moved toward two senators that, just in terms of ethics, I don't think the state is ever going to be disappointed in them. And that's, you take baby steps in New Jersey. This is the week that Bob Menendez is supposed to be sentenced.
Wednesday, right?
15 years in prison. And it's another thing. I keep saying these things on your show now, Ken, that date me, but this is the second U.S. senator from New Jersey in my lifetime that's going to prison, likely for Menendez going to prison for taking bribes. So it's one of the things that gives New Jersey a black eye.
Yeah, I think he thought he was going to skate free after the last legal situation he had, obviously in Washington, and because it was a hung jury, he was able to get away with it. Somebody maybe was gotten to. Of course, I'm throwing that out there, being silly. But somebody, of course, caused a hung jury, and or it could have been multiple people. We don't know. And he got away with it. And I think he thought he got away scot-free. You would think that somebody would learn at that point and think, wow, I have literally been reborn. I will turn a new leaf. I will be a good person from now on, and not put gold bars in my pocket. And then to use the obnoxious line, because listen, I worked in Miami as an anchor for years, tons of friends who are Cuban, to use the line that, hey, we Cubans, we keep our money in pockets in the house. We don't trust banks. That was so insulting to Cubans. It's like, please. My friend Ileana, whom I anchored with in Miami for years at CBS, she said, really? My father is a doctor in Havana, and the communists arrested him because he made more than a certain amount of money. He had money in the bank in Havana. So don't be stupid. And that was so insulting. He almost begged for it. It's kind of, and now you have a Menendez Jr. Do you think he'll ever be running for a bigger office?
I don't know. I've known Rob Menendez for a long time. He once worked for me as an intern. He's a nice, earnest guy, and I hope these lessons. It's in a way good for the voters to not visit the sins of the father on the son, and
you're right.
He's got to get a chance. And look, one of the great things about New Jersey is if you remember when Bob Porticelli left the Senate.
Yes.
He made this comment of, when did we become such an unforgiving people? Jersey is forgiving. I mean, I'm a walking example of that. I come out of the Bridgegate mess, and I was dead on the side of the road, and I have been able to come back and now have a career as a journalist, and a lot of pressure now watching the Star Ledger. They're going out this weekend. Sunday is going to be the last newspaper they print, and then they're closed down, ending a world that began for them in 1832. People are forgiving if you accept responsibility and you tell the truth, and you're able to advance, and that's what stuns me about my Bob Menendez, is he came so close to losing his freedom. You'd think that he would spend the rest of his life living the straight and narrow, and exactly. That's the part of it. I've known, he and I were young mayors together in the 80s. I mean, I've known him a long time, and if he were still speaking to me, that be the question I would ask him is, what were you thinking? Why, you're sitting in the United States Senate, and you're chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. You've got everything you've ever imagined you wanted in your world and more. Why did you? I know you're running a family show, so I'll clean it up. Why did you mess this up? Why did you let yourself get this into this position? I don't know.
David, he could have left the Senate. He could have left the Senate with his connections and his title. He could have been given a cushy job as a CEO of a major corporation, a no-show job, and made millions, not to mention all the money he could have gotten on the side just because of his power. Why be so stupid? And for something as dumb as getting a car for his wife, I don't know. You're right. It's mind-boggling. I'm sure he's probably kicking himself in the head right now. Where did I go? If you could only turn back time. Listen, we got about a minute before we have to go to commercial break. I just want to quickly ask you talked about forgiveness in New Jersey. McGreevey getting the endorsement of Governor Murphy to run for mayor of Jersey City now that Fulop will be running for governor. So talk about that. This is a man who has, quote unquote, redeemed himself. He wanted to be an Episcopal priest at one point, and then he was told no, and now he heads up a wonderful organization, and he got the endorsement for mayor of one of the largest cities in the state.
Yeah, and you want to talk about a guy who started out in politics very young, moved up very quickly. McGreevey today is about as grounded a guy as you can get. He's got this kindness factor to him, this empathy for people in Jersey City that need help from government, and he's experienced, and he's now, this is 28 years since he ran for governor the first time, and now he's coming back with not just the experience of government, but the wisdom of having lived what was a difficult life. There's some other good candidates there. This is by no means a slam dunk for him. But I think watching Jim McGreevey's second act is going to be something to see.
Yeah. David Wildstein, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. We'll be going to you a lot in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So be there. We thank you so much.
Thank you. And congrats on your new show. This is terrific. And we need more local journalism. Democracy depends on it.
Amen. And we'll be working with you at the debates. So we'll see you there. Thank you so much, sir.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, David. Thank you so much. David Wildstein, political consultant extraordinaire. Of course, he's also from the Globe, New Jersey Globe, former mayor of Livingston, New Jersey. And we will be doing the debates for both Democrats and Republicans coming up. You can see it right here on New Jersey. So we'll give you details as the time comes up. It is now 7:47. Temperature's 23 degrees. Going to be sunny today. We'll have a full forecast and lots more news ahead on New Jersey Mornings with Ken Rosato. We're coming right back. On New Jersey Mornings, I'm Ken Rosato. It is Monday. Sorry about that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but yes, it is Monday. The good news is we're here to get you through it. I have my Pomeranian mug of coffee, my mug. Okay, this thing is a 16-ounce mug. So, as I already said earlier, if you're just joining us now on New Jersey, that by the end of the show, I'll be talking like a million miles an hour like that because of all the caffeine. Are you a coffee drinker or a tea drinker? Is a big question. I'd like to know about that. We do have a number to call, by the way, if you'd like to chime in. We have a mixture of news and politics. We want to hear your opinion, and the number is 888 658 0234, 888 658 0234, as you see, right across the bottom of the screen there. So we'd love to hear from you. And so we have a check of the forecast right now, and we understand today's going to be sunny, maybe a flake later, but the details from meteorologist Mike Favetta. Tell us all about
Hey, Ken, good morning. Talking about the coffee, we tried to
it.
do something a little different because, when you go from espresso to French press, just something to get the caffeine, have a newborn at home. So up all hours of the night, need something to
You
get me
know,
going in the morning, right?
I didn't want to
That's
bring
what
it
it
up.
takes.
I knew the last time we talked, it was actually when you were like waiting. So I didn't want
Yes,
to, I
yeah.
figured you'll bring it up when you want to bring it up, but are you getting any sleep?
Oh, it's here. Yeah. Nino is great. Antonino sleeps like maybe 3 to 4 hours at a time, so
Hmm.
manageable. But my wife and I, we just needed that extra jolt. We needed to switch it up. So she was looking at getting some kind of like caramel flavoring, like a syrup or some sort of caramel sauce. And I'm like, I'll just make it. And it's so simple. After about 20 minutes on the stove, it actually kind of really gets you going in the morning. So if you need that
That's
extra
crazy.
jolt, I recommend any caffeine sugar combination to do it. That is my new recommendation.
So now we're going to see a couple of flakes later, you said, but by the end of the week we could get some snow.
I think it's messy on Saturday. Yeah. So any Friday
Okay.
night or Saturday plans, you got to stay tuned to the forecast because there will be some new weather patterns emerging, and that will also mean some messy conditions, especially on the roads. It's not all that bad to start off this week, a little bit milder, but we get those flurries later on tonight and again tomorrow with some flurry bursts. But Saturday with the rain, snow, and ice, I think that'll be the bigger problem as we head into the end of the week. As far as today, it's a pretty decent looking afternoon. A mix of clouds and sun, 43 degrees is your high in Egg Harbor City. The South Jersey forecast from Atlantic City to Cape May holding right now this morning in the 20s, but will eventually warm to 42 in Millville and 42 over in Glassboro. The next change will be our snow chances, and it comes in the form of a few rounds of cold air. And the cold fronts will be ushered in with that a little bit of a clipper system. And it really just gets the northern sections of New Jersey. Central and south probably don't see any of those flakes or flurries, but it's all due to that upper level system as the jet stream dips a little far south, giving us our chances of some snow. You can see it here with the forecast map, that next round of cold air with the cold front sliding on through New Jersey. And then with our next system, that's the clipper that moves on by, most of the energy stays to our north, so we will pick up a little bit of those light flurry bursts, specifically in the afternoon, followed by a round of clear weather by Thursday. And then this is that potential for that rain, snow, and ice. So the rain shown in green here, the pink showing the ice, working in through southern New Jersey as early as Friday evening. The long range futurecast shows it nicely, specifically with that late Friday night time frame. The rain getting going in southern New Jersey, central portions of the state could see some mixing, and then snow, say Route 78 north as the system slides eastward. I don't expect it to be a big impactful system, but there is enough snow around that it will create some problems on the road, specifically for Saturday morning, getting your day going. If you have Saturday morning plans, there will likely be some snow, rain, and ice throughout the first part of the day, and then it moves out to the east. Behind it for Sunday, there might be some lingering moisture, so there could additionally be some more light snowfall or maybe even some freezing rain as the back end of the system in the upper atmosphere slides on through. Now, obviously, this is still days away, but just keep in mind that we're looking at something to start off the weekend after a little bit of wet weather and white weather in some parts of the state earlier this week. And that also goes in line with the rainfall amounts, much higher chances by Friday into Saturday and Sunday, whereas most of this week is pretty quiet, low chances throughout the middle of the week. And it's rain we could use since we're still technically in a drought, specifically for central and southern New Jersey. So those rainfall totals for the southern portion of the state could total anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch by Friday, maybe upwards of an inch by Sunday into Monday if that system stays on track. And that will help bring back our normal levels of rain, because over the last 30 days, we've only had about half of normal across most of the state, specifically where it's been the driest down in central and southern portions of New Jersey. The rainfall deficit over the last 30 days, anywhere from a half inch to an inch, upwards of 2 inches in Toms River. And that bright shade of red, that is that extreme drought that persists right in the breadbasket of New Jersey, where all of our produce comes from. All of the Garden State essentially gets its name in that area of the state. Going forward, the temperature looks a little bit milder into the first week of February. So this is the long range outlook pushing us forward. And that's also if you're maybe traveling for spring break down to the southeast, down to Florida, you'll have above average chances of seeing warmer weather there. Whereas here in New Jersey, there's also a higher chance of rainfall and any sort of precipitation, which could also include snow, going into the first week of February. But in general, February should be a little bit milder than usual. And the 7-day forecast, we want to point that out. That is coming up with our next weather update. We'll break down day by day, Ken, what it looks like going into this upcoming weekend with that Saturday system looking pretty interesting, especially for any sort of weekend travel plans.
Oh boy. Okay. So keep Saturday in mind. Absolutely. It is the winter, and this is what we get in the Northeast. Thank you so much,
Yep.
Meteorologist Mike Favetta. We'll be checking back with you in just a little bit. And it is now 23 degrees, right in the heart of the state of New Jersey. 7:58 is our time. When we come back, we'll check again with the On New Jersey forecast. I'll take a look at the roads, see if we have any tie-ups around, and we'll talk more about politics and news. So if you want to give us a call, the number once again is 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. We'll also be talking about the big Eagles win yesterday. And we will be talking about for those of you into Samsung phones, Samsung has its newest release coming up. We will have a tech expert, Fisher, coming up in just about half an hour from now. So we will be right back on New Jersey Mornings with Ken Rosato. Don't go away. And a happy Monday. It is January 27th. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome to On New Jersey Mornings, our first day of our new move forward with our morning show here on New Jersey. We hope you tell your friends about it. In fact, this is kind of a mix for those just joining us of news and commentary, politics, weather. We get you going in the morning with a smile. And we want you to be able to take On New Jersey with you in the car. So when you leave your home, stream it on your phone. And if you have my gosh, it's called Android Auto, not Google, Ken. So Android Auto, or of course, Apple Play, you could just log on and then carry it in your car, and you could listen to us through the morning commute. So we want to keep you going all morning long. It is 8:01 right now. Temps 23 degrees. We get the check of the On New Jersey forecast. Meteorologist Mike Favetta has the latest for us once again. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Ken, good morning to you. Happy Monday. It's that kind of little bit of a brisk start to the day, but there is slightly milder weather on the way for this afternoon. We warm into the upper 30s and low 40s across some parts of the state. It'll feel very pleasant, even with the sunshine. But by tomorrow afternoon, there'll be a few flakes and flurries moving through. Might give us a few quick coatings, especially early in the morning and again later in the day. Throughout Wednesday, highs climb to 45. That might be the mildest day, but it's also the gustiest with some breezy conditions. And then sliding through the end of the work week, we look okay. The trouble comes for Friday afternoon and Friday night. That's when our next weather system enters the picture. We start off in the afternoon mild, but cool down into the 20s late at night. That allows for some cold enough weather to support some snow going into early Saturday morning into the afternoon. So plan on a pretty messy start to the weekend with some snow, some rain, a little ice mixed in there, and that should clear out by Sunday. I think southern New Jersey has a better deal with that part of the forecast because while highs reach the upper 40s, might even get to 50 on Wednesday, it'll feel quite pleasant. Again, minus the wind because it will be breezy. I think with the Friday afternoon forecasts showing the rain moving in southern New Jersey first and staying as mostly liquid, shouldn't be too much frozen precip there. So the shore points have some better weather to contend with, just rain versus snow to start off the weekend and then ultimately clearing out by Sunday. Starting off, Ken, the first weekend in February, this weekend with a little bit of wet weather down south.
Wet weather down south. There you go. There's always a north-south dichotomy in New Jersey, right? One side gets a
There
good
is.
thing and one side gets a bad thing.
That's right.
All right, meteorologist Mike Favetta, we will be checking back with you in just a little bit. We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. 8:03 is our time. And for those who were watching sports over the weekend, you saw the Philadelphia Eagles win it. They squeaked past. And by the way, I know next to that about sport. I'm gonna tell you right now, all my years at Channel 7, that they used to make fun of me. Our sports people would mock me. In fact, my weather guy back then, Bill Evans, he used to say, hey Ken, you know who this is? You know who that is? And just make a fool of me on the set. But at least I embrace it now. I acknowledge I was never a sport. I was a fat kid, so I was never a sports guy, although my whole family's into sports. But one person who is into sports, who does a weekend call-in show, he's so smart about sports. Nobody knows more. And this is, we call it Mike Squared. Mike Favetta, we got Mike Black. Good morning to you, sir. Thanks for coming in so early in the morning. We appreciate you. How you doing today?
Ken, congratulations on the show. It's great to be here for the first episode. And today is my 39th birthday. So what a great gift this is. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday. Thank you for spending it here.
Absolutely. Last year in my 30s. So we'll see how this goes.
Oh, it's just wait till 40. Do what I did and end up in a bar in the back room by yourself crying. But that's a whole other story for a whole other show.
It's a whole other year away. Yeah.
Exactly. This was an amazing game. I mean, I know enough to know that Eagles fans are rabid. We know that. Yeah. We know that you usually have to get out of the way because they paint their naked chest and they do sorts of crazy things with Gatorade containers. That I know. And we also know that 2 years ago they lost. They lost to the Chiefs, and now it's a rematch. Do I have it all right so far?
In a very close game, they lost. Yeah, look, congratulations to the Eagles. A lot of people in South Jersey are in their glory right now, but I don't think we can say the same for people in North Jersey. A lot of Giants fans especially are having a tough time with this, mainly because Saquon Barkley, their former running back, is now heading to the Super Bowl as an Eagle, while the Giants were left with a 3-14 record. But look, the Eagles dominated the Commanders in the NFC Championship 55-23. They were dominant all year long, and Ken, as much as I hate to admit this as a North Jersey guy, they're going to the Super Bowl because they deserve to be there.
There you go. Wow. Well, what do you see? I mean, this is a heck of a matchup. This is going to be quite the matchup in New Orleans. I mean, where do you see this going when you look at quarterback to quarterback and compare the two teams?
Well, let me just start by saying this. I really wanted the Bills to come out on top when they lost to the Chiefs. I remember they made it to 4 straight Super Bowls when I was a kid in the 90s. They lost all 4, and they haven't been back since. Now, those 4 straight Super Bowl appearances are actually an NFL record, but now the Chiefs are looking to set a record of their own with 3 straight Super Bowl wins. The game will, like you said, actually be a repeat of Super Bowl 57 a couple of years ago. The Chiefs beat the Eagles 38-35 in that one, and this game should be just as exciting. But as for the Chiefs, look, I'm happy for Patrick Mahomes, who's appearing in the Super Bowl as often as Tom Brady did. I'm happy for Travis Kelce, their tight end, who's obviously a fan favorite. And Ken, you better believe we can expect to see his girlfriend Taylor Swift cheering him on several times throughout the game.
Oh my gosh! But did that ever become a big deal? Yes,
Oh,
I'm
did
sure
it
we
ever?
will see that. And then let's see what happens in the victory parade. If it happens to be a Chiefs victory, we'll see what happens to certain people who got a little too inebriated during the festivities later.
Oh,
You recall what happened there? So
you know it's going to happen again.
of course, well, that is if they win. But
If they
we,
win.
for those in South Jersey at least, we hope for the Eagles. We keep our fingers crossed. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Mike Black. We appreciate you, and we know you're going to have a lot more on your show, of course, to talk about this, especially as we get closer, just a matter of days away
Yeah.
to Super Bowl, or as we like to call it, the big game.
The big game.
What is that? Gronk is calling it in the promos. I think he's calling it licks because
Licks,
it's
I like
Super
that.
Bowl 59, so it's
Yes,
LIX.
They do it in
He's like,
Roman
"Welcome."
numerals.
Right. Welcome to Super Bowl licks.
Yes.
Which, in only Gronk fashion would you have that. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
right.
Thank you very much, Mike. We'll
Congrats
check back
again,
with you
Ken. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. We'll be having you on a lot, I'm sure. So get ready to get up lots earlier.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Mike. All right. It is now 8:07. Our temperature, 23 degrees on your Monday morning. Again, our meteorologist, Mike Pavetta, telling us a little earlier that we're going to have sunshine today, maybe a flake or two later today into tonight in parts of New Jersey, but otherwise a little chillier than yesterday, but not so bad. Upper 30s, our temperature, our high for the day, then into the low 20s tonight. Could be a lot worse, as we know that we've had in the last few weeks. So that's not so bad. Coming up a little bit later in this hour, we're going to be talking to our tech expert, Fisher, who knows all things phones and computers. And if you could see what's around me right now, I'm literally surrounded by computers. And I was actually on the phone with him in the last week. And what do you do this? What's a USB-B? I've heard of a USB-A and a USB-C. What the heck is a USB-B? Who knew? But he's going to talk about the fact that we have a new Samsung phone coming out. I'm a Samsung guy. And although Apple is, of course, an amazing product, but for those who don't realize, Samsung USA is headquartered right here in New Jersey, up near the George Washington Bridge, and they are, of course, the mothership of many a great electronic product. And many of the people who work there, proud of me. I mean, they're all from here. They're all New Jersey people. So that's why I always feel obliged to patronize Samsung because of the good products they put out. I've had Samsung phones for years. And no, this is not a commercial endorsement. I don't get anything free for this. I'm just telling you, I just happen to be a fan. So on Wednesday, they will be releasing or unveiling officially the new Samsung Ultra, or at least the S25. And in the S25, there will be three versions. There'll be a smaller standard one and then a large one called the Ultra. And from what we understand, for those who like the Samsung phone, the Ultra, this is an S23 Ultra that I have. So the Ultra has a stylus, and those people who have Samsungs, you know what I'm talking about. It's sort of a habit. You want the stylus, and then you think about it, and you think, how often have I used the stylus? And I think probably in the 15 years that I've had a Galaxy Note phone, I probably used the stylus 3 times. But yet you want the option to have the darn stylus. So Samsung was going to do away with it, and they decided to keep the darn stylus. So they have that. So we'll be talking to Fisher a little bit later on about that. Again, it is 8:09 now, 23 degrees in New Jersey on your Monday morning. Did you catch what happened with the president of Colombia? The president of Colombia he's a socialist, and he's a Trump hater. There are a few socialists in South America. South America has been known for having its share of socialists over the decades. Of course, there were many socialists in Argentina. They destroyed the economy. They get a conservative in there, Milei, and all of a sudden, in a matter of weeks, the economy started turning around. And in less than a year now, the economy is literally one of the best economies, not just in South America, but one of the strongest forward-moving economies on the planet. And that is because of conservative principles. For those of you who say, you know what you're talking about, Rosato, you're an ideologue. No, you know what? When conservative business principles are applied, they work every time. Now I could hear the liberals shouting in my ear, yeah, but conservatives are for dirty water, dirty air, they're misogynists, they're anti-LGBT, blah, 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 blah. Stop it. Stop the hyperbole, okay? I have 100 friends who are LGBT who are conservative. I have 100 friends who are female and conservative. It just comes down to the fact that you test liberal principles, which tend to be more on emotion, and you test conservative principles, which tend to be more on logic. There's a happy medium there. I guarantee that, yeah, either extreme doesn't work. We kind of found out in the last 4 years that when you go extremely to the left, things don't work. When you impose too many restrictions and government rules, things don't work. Look at California. California is the perfect example of one of the wealthiest, most populous, most beautiful states. They have more natural beauty than any other state probably in the whole country. And yet you give it to liberals to run and they blank it up. You insert your word of choice there. They blank it up. Why do they blank it up? Well, because they let the environmentalists take over. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that conservatives are not for dirty water and dirty air, and conservatives have children too, and they want to drink clean water and they don't want cancer causing agents. Heck, Trump appointed who? RFK. He wants RFK to head up the EPA. Okay. I mean, think about that. So we're not talking about wanting dirty water and dirty air, but at the same time, we don't want ridiculous nanny state over control of every aspect of our lives. And we could have a whole show or 10 on global warming and the environment and whether humans can control it. It's funny how we think that humans, just by not using a straw, that somehow we're going to save the planet. Guess what, liberals? The planet will be here long after we're gone. It ain't going nowhere. We may not be here, but the planet's going to be here. Okay. There are species that predated us that are still here, and they will post-date us. It's just the reality. Okay. And why do you think we as humans have any less right and entitlement to live our lives on the planet than any other species? The other species don't think about their impact on the environment, and they have lots of impact. Cows fart. Cows fart. There, I said it on the morning show. We could say it because it's a streaming channel. Cows cause pollution. Yet should we eliminate all cows from the... Well, Ken, we shouldn't eat them. If we didn't breed them, there wouldn't be so many to fart. All right. Well, guess what? There are 1,000 scientists who say that we need the carbon in the air. We need the methane to some extent in the air. It's all part of nature. And what a cow emits is actually part of nature, and it is needed, okay? And the carbon that we put out as humans and that we burn, we are made of carbon. Our bodies are 99% carbon. We are carbon beings, okay? And we put out carbon in the atmosphere. Guess what? Plants live on carbon dioxide. You can't have plants without carbon dioxide. But Ken, over the last decades, the global temperature has arisen by 1/1000th of 1 degree centigrade because of global warming. Okay, we are but a blip in time. We are but a blip in time, okay, in terms of global warming. This planet has been here tens of millions of years. Again, I'm not saying we should pollute. We should be as clean as we can be without being nanny state. And that is the problem. When we let environmentalists control everything. It's like, look, I'm a religious guy, but I don't believe that a religious organization should control the United States, right? But I believe there is a place for religion in the United States, right? We should have the freedom to be religious. And I'm not an environmentalist to the point that they should control the United States. But I am an environmentalist in terms of not wanting dirty water or dirty air. I'm fine with that. In this very house that I'm sitting in right now, and yes, I'm at home. That's where I do my work. I have a reverse osmosis water filter because I want to drink clean water, right? So that doesn't mean I want dirty water. But going back to California, when you impose restrictions, in the mid-'70s, when the EPA came into play, and by the way, President Trump wants to eliminate the EPA and the Department of Education. The EPA did not exist in the United States prior to the mid-'70s. Was this a disgusting mess? No. I mean, we had leaded gas, but we could have just changed the law, which we did, to get rid of leaded gas. At the time, we didn't realize that that was a problem. Then we realized there was. So we changed things. California did not clear the underbrush. California knew that they needed water reservoirs, et cetera, to hold water for their fire hydrants. California, for 15, 20 years, had 38 million set aside, which is not a lot of money when you think about it, to build new reservoirs. They didn't do it. Why? Meanwhile, they set aside billions for illegal migrants who aren't citizens. They took our tax dollars and spent it on illegal migrants, but they didn't spend 37 million with an M to build reservoirs. People in California need to go to jail. I'm sorry. The mayor of Los Angeles seems like a nice enough woman. She's actually a socialist who used to hang out in Havana an awful lot when it wasn't in any way legal. It isn't legal now, but it wasn't legal at all when she was doing it. She's not a very pleasant American if you look at her history. And yet this socialist was elected mayor of that city. And the person she appointed in charge of the water authority for the city, she's giving nearly $800,000 a year. And it was a Latina who said that she wants water equity. What is water equity? Water equity is where the water in the reservoirs would be diverted from certain communities to other communities. Okay, the more urban communities don't have wild brush that burns. They have buildings with sprinkler systems. But the people who are a little wealthier that live in those communities with trees, they tend to burn. This woman said that she was working on the reservoir. Turns out it was a whole year. It was empty as we got into the Santa Ana winds fire season. And this woman was being paid $800,000 a year by her socialist mayor and did nothing to protect the people of Southern California. So when all is said and done, and we determine how many people died, unfortunately, and the billions and billions in losses, and people will never be able to go back and they'll forever be scarred mentally. Remember, there is blame to go around. And you can blame one party, excuse me, that runs California top to bottom, and that is the Democrat Party, and liberalism and environmentalism. That is an example. That is an example of what it gets you. Destruction. They have destroyed that beautiful state. 8:17 is our time, 24 degrees now, going to have sunshine today. In fact, why am I talking about it? Do we have meteorologist Mike Pavetta standing by? Oh, fine. All right, we know. So I'll tell you what Mike Pavetta told me. Mike Pavetta told me that we're going to have sunshine today, maybe a flake or two tonight. Daytime highs today, upper 30s, nighttime lows, low 20s. But he said, watch out Friday into Saturday. We could see a system come through. We could have ice and we could have some accumulating snow going into Saturday, but he will have more with the On New Jersey forecast as we get closer to the weekend. So each day we'll give you more updated information. Meteorologist Mike Pavetta knows more than most about this very, very well. So we'll definitely be checking back with him. Did you check out what happened with the president of Colombia, as I started to mention before I went on my rant about California? The president of Colombia said, as we were about to send, and we were sending some illegal migrants from the United States who were gathered up and to repatriate. Well, they're not really being deported. They're being repatriated because they're not citizens or legal residents of the United States. So stop saying the president's deporting. President Trump is so mean. He's deporting these people. No, you can't deport someone who's not a citizen. Okay, technically, or not here legally. They are being deported, meaning out of the port. That's what that means. Port means door or gate in Latin. Deported. I'm giving you the Latin. Means from the gate, meaning you're being cast out from the gate. That's what deport means. But technically they're being repatriated. Patria in Latin means fatherland. Means back. So they're going back to their fatherland. I have a master's in languages. Get ready to get bored for a lot of language lessons as time goes on. But he is repatriating people who do not belong here and who have committed crimes for the most part. President of Colombia says, I don't want them back. You can't send them here. And we said, yes, we can. They're your problem, not ours. Why should we be saddled with them? So we put them on a plane and we send them. And he says, I refuse to accept them. And then we said, you're going to accept them, or we're going to impose 25% tariffs on everything you have just to start. And then it'll get worse. Then he says, well, we'll accept them, but don't treat my people like criminals. Well, Mr. Presidente, they are criminals, actually. They are criminals who've been arrested in the United States. Not to mention they were here illegally to begin with, which makes them criminals, but they actually committed crimes for which they've been arrested. So we're sending them back to be your problem. They're not our problem because they're your citizens. You let them out. They snuck in here. They're your citizens. Then all of a sudden, those of you who have social media, you may have seen memes of El Presidente de Colombia walking around with his 6-foot-tall transgender girlfriend while he is actually married to a cisgender woman. He was messing around with a 6 foot tall, overly large, top-sided trans female. And if you look at the tight dress she had on, she had quite the bulge for a woman. Just saying. This isn't broadcast, so I can get away with saying that on stream for now, until my boss tells me otherwise in about half an hour. And right after he threatened Trump, those memes started showing up on the internet. And literally like that, lickety split, he backed down and said, "We will accept all of our people back, Mr. President." And not only did he do that, but Levitt, who is the press secretary, posted, "You will accept these prisoners, you will accept them back, and you will accept them from our military transport, and you will accept them in handcuffs." And not only did the Presidente of Colombia accept that, he actually retweeted her command to get the message out. Yeah, I got it. Talk about having your tail between your legs. Quite an interesting turn of events. 1-888-658-0234, 1-888-658-0234. We want to hear from you, so we want you to call in, share your message. You call me a moron if you want. That's fine. You know what? That's why we take the call. Your opinion. I'm not going to yell at you. It's your opinion. So you call me a moron, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. That's fine. Just understand that I am 57 years old, and I've spent 40 of those 57 years on the air in the New York market. And I'm a pretty good student of history and language. So I give you fair warning, okay? It is now 8:22, 24 degrees, sunshine today on New Jersey Mornings with Ken Rosato. We are coming right back. On New Jersey Mornings, I'm Ken Rosato. It is Monday, the 27th. I always say Monday with like a little roll of the eye. I know, we'll get you going. Just grab your cup of Joe. I have my little happy Pomeranian mug. Pomeranian mug full of coffee. Oh, it's coffee stained. Yuck. I'll get you a cleaner cup next time. Sorry about that. But tell me, too, we want to take your phone calls. The number is 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Hey, I'll make it simple. Just tell me if you're a coffee or a tea drinker, which you like more and why. Or if you drink like mushroom extract. Some people I know do that, or a tincture of some sort. Look at the face I'm making. Let me know. Although coffee itself, if you think about it, coffee is an acquired taste. It's bitter. Who first looked at a red bean, right, in a pod and said, I got it. I'll take that bean, I'll pick it, I'll dry it in the sun, then I'll roast it, then I'll grind it, then I'll cook it in water, and it'll taste bitter, but somehow I'll keep drinking it. When you think about it, you wonder how the heck did that ever happen? But it did. For those who know me, you know that I'm a foodie and I'm heavily into food. I actually have a website called thefooddude.us, thefooddude.us. So it's TheFoodDude.us. And it's a link. It links. It's free of charge, so there's no charge at all. So you can go on there for free, and it links to hundreds of other food websites around the world, and literally millions of recipes. And I also have a bunch of podcasts and little history of food. So I talk about the history of coffee on there. And even for me, it was fascinating to find out, that the way it evolved. You'd think, how did humans ever develop a taste for it when it was so difficult to do so and to I don't know, because it's so, when you smell it and you look at it and you taste it, it's a bitter, but then we sweeten it up with milk and sugar and everything else. Whatever. Okay, unless you like it black. It is 8:28 right now, 24 degrees, sunshine today, some flakes of snow in some parts of New Jersey tonight. Highs getting up to about 39 degrees. Depending on what kind of phone you have, for the most part, I rudely only talked about Apple and Samsung or Android phones before. One of our dear friends here in control loves the Google phone as well, which has a wonderful camera. So I didn't mean to leave Google out of the mix, but this is the Samsung Ultra S23 Ultra that I have, and Samsung every year comes out with a new model. For the most part, this Wednesday they're going to be introducing their S25 series, and which, from what I'm reading, may end up being the last in this series of phones, and then they're going to revamp the whole thing. But for now, at least, they're coming out with the S25, and we have a tech expert named Fisher who's joining us right now live. Fisher knows all things tech. Good morning to you, and welcome to On New Jersey Mornings. Good to have you on, sir.
Good being with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I know that, let's just, truth be told, you are an Apple phone guy, but you are nice enough. You are nice enough to bend down to us lowly Android users and tell us about what's coming with the Samsung phone. And Samsung, just for the record, Samsung has its U.S. headquarters just about 20 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now here in New Jersey, and they are a big contributor to the U.S. economy and the New Jersey economy. I've been a Samsung fan for decades. So tell us about the S25 series coming out.
Yeah, so last week, Samsung had an event called the Unpacked event. It was in San Jose, and they rolled 3 versions out like they typically do. Like you mentioned, you have the S23 yourself. So it's the Galaxy S25, the Galaxy S25 Plus, and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. There was also a rumor of the Galaxy S25 Edge, but that hasn't been rolled out. It was just speculation, and it might roll out later this year, so we'll keep an eye on that. You have the 3 models start base $799 for the S25, $999 for the 25 Plus, and $1299 for the 25 Ultra. And they start with the base. So if you get the base model 25, it'll just be 128 gigabyte. 256 gigabyte for the $999 25 Plus, and $1299, and you still get only 25 gigabyte for in terms of storage for the Ultra. So it's quite hefty. But if you and that's if you buy it unlocked from Samsung's website. If you go to your favorite carrier, you'll get a deal. It'll be virtually free, or you'll have some sort of payment plan.
You'll be locked into using their plan, their service though for a certain amount of time, right? To pay that off because they're not in the business of giving away thousands of dollars of phones and not making it back somehow. So they want you to be a customer of all
Yep.
the big three, and understandably so. But and so when you're talking about the memory capacity of these phones, there are reasons why some people might need it and others may not,
Mhm.
right? So if you're shooting video and pictures, you probably want your phone to have as much memory as possible. So you said that it comes up, the Ultra will have as much as 1 terabyte of data
Correct.
available,
Yeah.
and that's going to be pretty expensive, though, right?
Correct. The storage ranges from 128 gigabyte to 1 terabyte of data, and really the upgrade reasons from the 24 to the 25 are pretty minimal. The Ultra, again, the screen sizes 6.9 inch for the Ultra, 6.7 for the 25 Plus, and 6.2 for the 25. But the real get is in the Ultra, and it's the camera. The camera that you would take photos and videos, not your selfies, has 200 megapixels, which is
Ooh,
huge. Selfie camera is still the standard 12 megapixel.
gotcha. So
But
for those who don't realize, the selfie is the shiny part, right?
that,
So
if
that's
you
there.
look
I'm
at the
shining.
scroll, yeah.
Right. So that's your selfie. So the selfie camera is right there, as I
Yep.
show. And then with all these lenses on the backside, this side is the 200. This will well, on the next camera. I think mine is 120 on this camera on the S23, but it'll be 200 megapixels, which is a crystal clear,
Mhm.
unbelievable. And from what I read, there was even upgraded glass, meaning the lenses are even
Mhm.
better in this than they were. So for those that always look for zoom
Yep.
capabilities. I think this is also going to have an updated zoom capability as opposed to electronic zoom. Electronic zoom can only do so much, and when you magnify into the little micropixel, it gets blurry. But when you have actual lens zoom, so you have like a good telephoto lens, that helps the computer, if you will, out that much more, and you get that much better a picture. But again, another reason why we needed this upgrade in some cases to 1 terabyte is because these things shoot in 8K, right? So
Mhm.
8K has 8 times the resolution of a 1080i or a 1080p that we used to have on our TVs at home. So
Yep.
because of that, it requires 8 times the data, right? Which is why the upgrade. But for people who don't shoot this high quality video, if you just need to take a couple of pictures and like a happy birthday video of 10 seconds, and the rest of the time you're just on the phone, you could go with a lower memory and you could upload everything to the cloud, right? And not have to worry about having all that extra money up front.
And in general, that's really what you want to do. You always want to back up to the cloud. And the other important part about having that space, and also the difference in this phone is the upgraded. It's the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip. It is a Qualcomm chip, and it is new with the S25 series, and it allows for more processing of the AI that is coming forth with all these phones, and then allowing you to edit on your phone video and pictures and all of that stuff. It also, the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip will run more efficient. So the battery space is still the same amongst all the phones, but the chip will run more efficient. So you technically will get a little bit more battery life out of there.
Oh, there you go. So without having to increase the battery size, and of course, when you increase the battery size, there's always the worry about overheating and things like that, right? So it's not just a matter, why don't they give us more capacity? Well, if you've ever been outside with a black colored phone like this on a hot sunny day, right? And you're down in the south, you know what happens. It can overheat very quickly, and you don't want
Mhm.
that to happen. That's why everything is jammed in so tight in these phones, literally a micron apart, everything. So those batteries are jammed in, and those lithium batteries are working very hard. So again, Samsung with the Snapdragon processor this Wednesday comes out. And again, you could get yours by
I
going to your favorite carrier, or you could buy the unlocked version from Samsung, right?
And the pre-orders are on now, and the phone actually gets, so you can buy the phone now, but it doesn't get delivered till February 7th.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'm,
So
I'm on the pre-order list. That's one of
yep,
my treats to myself.
and you'll get your phone on February 7th, which is great, or you could just go into the store and pick one up.
Oh, you mean I have to get out of my house and go to the
Well,
store?
I believe you have folks bring it to you with white gloves on a platter, so you're okay.
Listen, I employ the people who massage feet. That's
I,
what I do.
all
Okay.
right.
Someone has to do it. Is that too gross, TMI? All right, for early in the morning. Fisher, and by the way, we didn't put the we got to get the X logo up there. So you're to reach you, if somebody wants to reach you, it's at Fisher, and it's on X, right? At Fisher on X. They could get you. All
Thanks,
right,
Ken.
and you'll actually respond to them as opposed to me. You ignore me, but
Ask
all
me to
right.
Oh, no, that's right.
Fisher. All right, Fisher, thank you very much. We'll be checking in through the week. We appreciate you taking the time early in the morning. Thank you again, sir. It is 8:36, 24 degrees right now in New Jersey, and we are covering New Jersey from top to bottom, Rockland County down to Vineland, all over, and all cities and ports in between. We want to hear from you. If you want to give us a call, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. We'll be talking more politics, and we'll be talking football again. Big win for the Eagles over the weekend. Yesterday, they are now headed to Super Bowl, as Gronk called them, Super Bowl licks, LIX 59. So that's going to be early February in New Orleans, and that's going to be a big game, obviously. So they're going to have a rematch, if you will, from 2 years ago against the Chiefs, and we'll be talking to our Mike Black about that coming up just a little bit from now. 8:37 is our time. ONNJ Mornings with Ken Rosato is coming right back. 8:39. It is 25 degrees. Brr. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. And if you are anywhere in the Northeast, you knew that yesterday was a big game. The Eagles, of course, Philadelphia Eagles won, especially if you're in South Jersey, around the Philadelphia market. You know that it was a huge day. And I know everybody I know from Philadelphia has been partying all night long, because now it looks like their Eagles, it looks like, in fact, their Eagles are going to be going back to the Super Bowl, a rematch from 2 years ago against the Kansas City Chiefs, a Super Bowl that they lost by 3 points. Yesterday, coincidentally, they won by 3 points in this matchup yesterday that they had. So now they go all geared up against the Kansas City Chiefs once again, Super Bowl 59. Our Mike Black is in to tell us all about what we can expect. And Mike, I'm not a big sports guy, but I'm a big food guy, so I can talk all things Super Bowl food. So you tell us the sports aspect. I'll tell you what to eat around those aspects of the game. How about that?
Well, yeah. Well, I'd like to start with food too. One of my favorites is a pepperoni roll that my wife makes. It's kind of like a stromboli, and I hate admitting this on the air, but I could probably eat 2 whole loaves in one sitting. So, you know, that's my go-to. It's the next best thing to pepperoni pizza, and you know, wings are always a good one. But we'll see what happens with the Super Bowl. I mean, the Eagles fans are wild. We'll see where it goes. I'm hoping that the Chiefs get their 3rd straight win, which has never been done before in Super Bowl history. So hopefully that's what happens. I really am a fan of Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to, as a Giants/Jets guy, I'm not big into football, but I am a North Jersey guy. I really don't want to see the Eagles win, as much as I hate to say that. I do want to see the Chiefs win and come away with their 3rd straight.
Oh, let's see what happens. But yeah, you know what? Listen, I just see in my head what will happen if the Eagles were to win.
Yeah.
You know, the Eagles fans are not genteel, let's say. Yeah, these are, I mean, I'm sure they're nice people, but I don't know that I would invite them into my home if my elderly parents were here and I wanted to have a little dinner party. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think the Eagles games bring out the worst in them. They could be great people on the one hand, but, you know, it's like, you know, they turn into the Hulk when they're in front of the television or they're at these Eagles games. They're totally different people.
They beat people up. They throw them over.
They
I mean, seriously, they throw them over balconies. They assault. They shoot them. You know, I mean, they're not all Eagles fans, but you know, this does not happen with like the Jets. Okay,
No.
They're big Jets fans, but
No.
this does not happen with the Jets. It's something about the Eagles fans. You're right. It's almost like they feel that, you know what, we have a license to do this. And I think because Philadelphia, even though it's the 4th largest market in the United States, it's still perpetually in the shadow of New York. And maybe this is the way that South Jersey and Southeast Pennsylvania fans, this is their way of saying, oh yeah, New York, we're bigger than you. I think they're trying to show something, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like the hoagie crowd against the sub crowd, the pork roll crowd against the Taylor ham crowd. I'm Team Taylor ham all the way. I'm North Jersey.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I love it, hoagie. You know what's funny? I come originally from Westchester County, New York, from New Rochelle, which is right on the border of the Bronx. And we call hoagies, they call them hoagies, grinders, heroes, right?
Yeah.
You know what they call them where I'm from?
No.
They call them wedges.
I don't think I've ever heard that. Grinder I've heard in like the Connecticut area. I have heard grinder before, but
I've heard of subs.
Yeah, subs, obviously. It's shaped like one. But what, ledges with an L?
No, wedges, like wedge of cheese or whatever. So
either way,
if you go,
I've never heard of that.
It's northern Manhattan, the Bronx, Westchester, and parts of Rockland County. Outside of those areas, you will never hear the term wedge. And when I was growing up as a kid, that's all. We never called them anything but a wedge. So when I heard people say, "You want a sub?" The heck is a sub? I had no idea what it was. But yeah, wedge is just an Italian, usually an Italian. Maybe it's just I don't know. Maybe because I'm thinking it may have looked like a wedge of Parmesan cheese, or so as I figured. Call it a wedge. But
the other thing is, I never realized how Jersey Taylor ham is. You try to explain Taylor ham to somebody from New York City, it's like you're from a different planet. I try to explain it like it's a breakfast spam or something like that. How else do you explain it to somebody who's never had it before? But
that's actually a great definition, because I always, the way I explain it as a foodie, I say, if you've ever had spiced ham at a deli, it's spiced ham meets Canadian bacon.
Yeah,
it's sort of a marriage of the two. So it's good. I mean, I'm not a crazy guy for it, but it's okay, right? Yeah. But I guess fried like bologna goes good on a bagel in the morning, or an English muffin, or a roll with an egg and some cheese.
And I get made fun of at the deli now, Ken, because I live in South Jersey and I order Taylor ham, and everybody down there refers to it as pork roll. So I get the blank stare. Yeah, they know what I'm talking about, but they give me a little, they make fun of me a little bit for that one.
And let's explain why it's called Taylor ham, because Taylor was the company that invented what is generically called pork roll.
It's like Kleenex and tissue, or jacuzzi and hot tub. Yes, one's a generonym and one is the brand.
Exactly, and we all use the term Kleenex all the time generically. And my grandmother as a kid, she had a Frigidaire refrigerator, and she would say always, no matter what brand she eventually had, go to the Frigidaire and get such and such. That was
parents say, get off the Nintendo. I could be playing Sega. I could be playing PlayStation. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Mike Black. So, all right, we're gonna be excited as we get closer to the Super Bowl. I know we're gonna be checking in with you more and more between now and then, and we'll find out. I mean, like, what are we looking at? We're just looking at seeing if any of the players, heaven forbid, get injured in their personal lives between now and Super Bowl 59. That's the only thing that could potentially throw this, right?
Yeah, they got to be careful these next 2 weeks. I mean, the Super Bowl used to be played a lot earlier in the year when I was a kid. Actually, sometimes on my birthday. I remember, I think that the Super Bowl in '91 with the Bills was on my 5th birthday. But now they got more rounds in the playoffs or whatever it is. They play it later. But over these next 2 weeks, they're going to have to, be prudent and be ready for the Super Bowl.
And Mike, by the way, in case you didn't hear earlier, today is his 39th birthday. Squeeze him out of cheeks.
Last year, my 30s.
What are your plans for today for your birthday?
So we're going to this Brazilian steakhouse in Belmar called Flames, where they bring the rod out and they cut it off the... I've never been to one of those. I always wanted to go for the experience. So my wife and the rest of our family, we're going to go, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's fun. And they give you a little chip. You have to put a chip up or down, or they give you like 2 different colors. That way it tells the people who keep coming around whether to keep giving you food or not, so it doesn't get wasted. Because after about the 3rd round, you're like, I can't eat anymore. I can't. It's great food, but it's just a lot. So, and when you consider how much food you're eating for the money, I don't know how they make money on it, because there's just so much food that comes on your table. Well, enjoy it, my friend.
I'll close them down tonight.
Movies.
Thank you so much.
Close them down. Enjoy it.
Thanks for having me on, Ken. I appreciate it
Thank
so much.
you for coming up so early. I appreciate you very, very much, Mike. Have a great day. I really appreciate you. All right, my friend. Take care. Mike Black. Of course, you can always check him here on New Jersey. He is the sports guru. You always know that you'll get it honestly from Mike. It is 8:47 now, 25 degrees. Gonna have sunshine today. High's about 39 degrees. Meteorologist Mike Favetta tells us. And Mike Favetta, that is, we have the Mike squared, sports and weather, both Mikes. Mike Favetta tells us that we could see a flake or two in parts of New Jersey tonight. Nothing serious. But as we get toward the end of the week, we could see ice accumulating on Friday night into Saturday. There was a whole different story. And Mike will tell us as we get closer to the end of the week what could be accumulating snow on Saturday. So just we're letting you know now. It's Monday. In the world of meteorology, when you're more than 3 days out, they will say it's a crapshoot. So it could go north or south at this point, but just keep it on your radar between now and Friday. If you have any plans for the weekend, for Saturday, you may want to make them for Friday or Sunday, just in case. It is 8:48, again, 25 degrees of temperature. You're watching ONNJ Mornings with Ken Rosato. That's me. It's a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're coming right back. It is now 8:51, 25 degrees on your Monday. It's January 27th. Welcome back to ONNJ Mornings with Ken Rosato. I'm Ken, and it's good to have you on again. And we take your phone calls, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. We want to hear from you. We would love for you to give us a call and tell us what you think about some of the things we've talked about today. And by the way, for those who are wondering, different ways you can watch on New Jersey, of course, it's at the website. You could always stream us at ONNJ.com. You can go to YouTube, but YouTube is not a live stream. YouTube is what we post after we've done our shows live. You could also go to Apple TV, Samsung TV Plus, all sorts of ways. I mean, you'll find a way. But we're going to post different ways that you could see. You can go to the website, ONNJ.com, and at the bottom of the website, it lists all the different ways to stream. We want you to take your phone and stream us in the morning on the phone and just take it to your car when you get in your car. Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you'll be able to stream us just like a radio station all the way into work. For those who, most people say, Ken, I know how to do that. Some people say, oh, I never knew you could do that. Well, now you know. It's a thing, okay? If you have a newer car in the last 7 years or so, you know that that's pretty much a built-in feature now. We've been talking politics all morning. We talked earlier with David Wildstein, who is the political guru of New Jersey. The Globe and on New Jersey will be hosting both the Republican and the Democrat gubernatorial debates coming up in the next couple of weeks, and we'll tell you more as we get closer to that. But it was fascinating finding out about some of the people running for governor on both sides. Of course, you have Jack Ciattarelli on the Republican side, and among several who are running, and on the Democrat side, you have Steve Fulop, who is, of course, the mayor of Jersey City. He's one of the people running. And because he will be vacating the seat of mayor of Jersey City to run for governor, one of several people running for that seat is former Governor McGreevey. He will be running for Jersey City mayor, and he received the endorsement over the weekend from Governor Phil Murphy. So that's going to be interesting, although there are several candidates for that seat. But likely, because it's such a Democrat stronghold in Jersey City, a city of 300 plus thousand people, it's likely going to go to a Democrat. But nonetheless, it's going to be interesting to see. And McGreevey, rather, Jim McGreevey, who has spent the better part of 10, 11 years out of the limelight, kind of regrouping after his fame fall from grace when he stood at a news conference only 2 years into his governorship with his wife at the time to his side, and announced to the world that he was a gay American. You remember that. That was in 2004. So that was, 21 years ago. He said, I am a gay American. And of course, it was bad enough the way it was done, but I mean, especially bad the fact that he had his wife standing there, and there was word at the time that his wife had no idea that she was finding out. We don't know if that's the case, but that was the word, that she was finding out. And she ended up with a divorce shortly after that. That's their business, but nonetheless, it was awkward, and that kind of destroyed his political career. He tried to become an Episcopal priest after that. They didn't accept him. Then he ended up working for some charity organizations, and he's done a wonderful job in that since. And this is his political comeback try. So we'll see what happens now that he's gotten the endorsement of Governor Phil Murphy. Over the weekend, Trump mania has occurred. In the last week alone, as he promised, President Trump got ICE in full gear, and somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 criminal illegal aliens have been rounded up. Many have been deported already. So he said day one it was going to happen. I remember seeing Tom Homan, the czar of this. Tom Homan had made a comment on CNN when they asked him, when will we start to see the rounding up of illegal migrants? And he said, day one. And they asked him, it was actually Kristen Welker who asked. She said, no, I mean, when will it actually start? And he said, day one. So I don't think people took Trump and his people seriously. Well, now they should. And what the Trump administration's been telling people who are here illegally is, if we don't know you're here and you self-deport, you leave on your own, take your time now, get your stuff, get your family, go back to your country, wherever that country may be. Go back to Czechoslovakia, which doesn't exist anymore, Czech Republic, wherever. I'm just making up a country name, any country name, and apply to be a U.S. resident, legal resident, and or citizen. and you could probably make it back here in a matter of time legally. But if we catch you here illegally, even if you haven't committed a crime, we catch you here illegally, we're going to deport you, and you probably will never get a chance to come back. Well, this is smart on multiple levels. Number one, nobody wants to see people who are just here to get a better life arrested. Nobody wants to see that. But unfortunately, it is the reality. You're not supposed to be here unless you follow the law when you get here. We've had millions and millions and millions of people who've made their way here legally. Why is it that suddenly certain people on the left think it's noble that people who've made it here illegally should get to stay? It's just a slap in the face to all the people who spent years working and paying money to get here legally. It's basically saying, you're a sucker. Get to the back of the line. I'm in the head of the line. And this is why I think so many people said that they were supporting Trump on this. They had it. Enough was enough. And then, of course, we saw countries like Venezuela opening their prisons, and tens of thousands of serious criminals made their way to the United States, because the choice was stay in Venezuela and go to jail, or come to the US and be free to roam and be a criminal here. So they became criminals here. And we saw towns like Aurora, Colorado, where they literally took over whole apartment complexes and shook down people for money. And the liberal mayor of Aurora said, oh, it's no big deal. It's only a few apartment complexes. How would you like to live behind a locked door because your president turned around and let illegals control your community? Well, that's the end of our first edition of On New Jersey Mornings with Ken Rosato. Join us every morning, 7 to 9, right here on New Jersey. Have a wonderful day. Try to stay warm, folks. And thanks again for tuning in.